There was something that you said. I've got a clip of it actually. I'm gonna play it right now.
Yeah.
When you went into the vaults, and maybe it's a bit of what I felt a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me try and find it, and I'm gonna play it right now. 1 second.
Yeah.
As the vaults in storage open, I was astonished to see all the objects that came from Africa and elsewhere, and approximately 500 from the different tribes of Kenya, my home country. I could hear as if the objects were trying to communicate with me, trying to tell me something. A deafening silence filled the room with the objects begging and screaming for my attention. Most of them I had never seen in my life. I wondered, if the objects could speak, what would they say? What history do they carry? Who made them and why?
Bro,
Yeah.
that was deep. That was deep, and maybe that's the 11-year-old me didn't know how to say that, but
Yeah.
when I heard that, I played it about 3-4 times. Like, wow, that's deep, man.
It was. And that feeling, I had to look for words to communicate in the film to sort of bring it out. But it was such a weird feel. And it's something that has constantly been with me. Like every time I go to like museums and everything, I still get a tingly, weird feeling. And to be honest, at that time, those objects talked to me, right? They didn't like communicate how we communicate, how like me and you were conversing at the moment. It's not language.
It's deeper than that.
It's deeper. It's a feeling, and it got so weird. I couldn't stay there longer. I had to just like walk out and throw up.
Oh.
And it stuck with me. And this is a question, like the 11-year-old you, I who's experiencing this for the first time, and I asked myself, what if a spiritual leader, traditional spiritual leader, walks inside that museum? What
is that?
Yeah. What would be the outcome?
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a form of spirituality with this artifacts, and it's way deeper that cannot be fully expressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not something that you can express with words. Essentially,
Yeah.
It's a feeling.
It's a feeling.
Something deeper. Yeah. It runs deep in you. It's your culture. It's what your ancestors, as I say, your people, the ones that came before you. Yeah. That's deep, man. That's deep. So the British Museum, you went and you didn't stay long, did you?
I didn't stay. So it was still a weird feeling, because you could like, also when I was there at the British Museum, I could feel like the souls of the people are trapped behind this glass. They're the object, but they're trapped. And they're trying to say, please let me out. Please let me out. And yeah, it sounds very like science fiction-ish, but it's just deeper than what we think.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's like something that is, this might be a far-fetched theory, but it's something that's like, now we can't enslave you physically. We can enslave you with your culture, with who you belong, where you come from.
Yeah.
You can come and look at it, but you can't touch it, you can't see it, you can't take it back. It's not for you. Look at it, that's what you can do.
Yeah.
It is something that is not just, you can't just take it on face value, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is why this film really spoke to me. Really, really spoke to me. And there was a question of the exhibit versus preserving. We're exhibiting these items with the idea of preserving them. Museums are meant to preserve things or whatever. But there's a fine line between exhibiting things that aren't yours, culturally, and preserving them. Like, where do you find that balance?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, 4 to 6% is what is exhibited. Whatever else is not exhibited is preserved and
quote unquote. That is a mad word.
Preserved, and they put harmful chemicals. You know, I mean, it's part of preservation.
Yeah.
But the concept of making it not to just to preserve it, probably some of these artifacts don't need to live longer.
Forever,
Yeah, they're not meant to live forever. So that also preservation aspect in itself questionable. And of course they always say preservation for studies, academic studies and academic research, it's fine, but at the end of the day, and also doing academic research, do the museum institution involve the actual communities who these objects belong to? It's just recently where there's been this outburst where a lot of institutions are trying to, go to work with African scholars as well, also with the communities as well, just to find out, because you'll find a lot of these artifacts, they're labeled one thing, but they're not the actual thing, because you also have to understand history, because they were taken during the colonial period with a colonial mindset.
Yeah.
So the person who was taking it didn't consider or didn't really involve themselves with the community to understand. Because I know there's a lot of artifacts that have been labeled a certain way and it's actually wrong.
Yeah.
But everyone else think it's this. I'll give you an example. There's one particular shield. It's called the Ndome, right? It belongs to the Kikuyu tribe. Yeah. So because it's a shield and that colonial aspect, it's warlike. So it's perceived...
So they're viewing it from their colonial eyes.
Yeah, so it's perceived as a shield for war. But the shield from the Kikuyu, the Ndome, was not for war. It was a ritual. It was used for a ritual ceremony. So you see there's also a lot of, miscommunication or misunderstanding when it comes to some of these
items and things.
Items, yeah.
Wow, that's a big disconnect.
Yes.
That's a big disconnect. Wow, okay. And I think now the question naturally goes to what's being done. How do we, amplify this conversation? Where do you go from here? Because, as we said, there was the Benin items that were returned. Ethiopia, I believe. Sankara's tooth was returned by Belgium. Or
Patrice Lumumba.
What did I say? Sankara.
Yeah.
Patrice Lumumba. Sorry, to Congo.
Yes, to Congo.
Yeah, sorry, to Congo. Yeah.
Yeah.
And these kind of feel like tokens. They're just like, have this. Now be quiet. Maybe we'll do something else in 2 years. Yeah. It's like these things can be done clearly. It's just they don't want to, or they're not being done, or there's a process, or I don't know. I'm not a bureaucratic guy. I don't understand these processes. Yeah. Like, is there something that can speed up the process? Is something that can be done from the African side as well?
Yeah.
We can't just blame everyone. We have to take responsibility for our culture too. What can we do to push and persist to get our history back, essentially? Because this is our history. This is our culture. Is this what's the process? Would you say?
I don't want to sound radical because I like...
Say it, bro. Say it.
I like getting visas, so...
I hear you.
No, but
you gotta be diplomatic.
But of course, a lot needs to be done, and it's always talk, 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 talk.
Yeah.
There's not more of action. So I would say we have to start also with us, as Africans.
Yeah.
The first step is ensuring our government is involved, because I, as an individual, I, as Saitabao, cannot go to the British Museum and tell them, give me this head back, because everything is bureaucratic.
Of course.
So we have to also make our governments involved.
Right.
There needs to be policy framework on restitution and repatriation. And we have to push museum institutions. And I remember I saw this debate, one of the ministers here in the UK was like, if we give out one, everything will go. See, that's already problematic.
That's a big problematic. Yeah. That's a problematic statement.
It is. It's very problematic. And also the notion of we can preserve it better. That's also such a weird way of thinking. So it's more of involving people. I would say governments should be involved from the African perspective, because if it's government to government,
it's a different conversation.
It's a different conversation.
Right.
And that's why also, like, you can see the Benin bronzes are going back. It's not good enough, but because also the government is involved.
Right.
Yeah. So there's that framework, there's that policy framework. But for us as individuals, as artists, as filmmakers, or even ordinary people, need to talk about this more.
Mm-hmm.
The media also has to highlight it more. Just pushing. Yeah, I want to be optimistic, but maybe in our lifetime, this artifacts won't be returned.
Wow.
In our lifetime.
Wow.
But it's the conversation. It has to be documented, and it's always, even to our Western. We need Western allies.
Yeah.
People from the UK, Germany, in the States. We need allies to speak about this, to be vocal about it, to question even the state governments. Their governments is like, what are you doing more? And we have to do it collectively. We can't just do it as individuals, as Africans. We need partnerships. We need to push harder, because at the end of the day, all this might be lost, right? The knowledge system will be lost if everyone is not involved.
Yeah.
I hope that answers.
No, that does. Yeah. That more than does. And I mean, it's something that I'll say that it's something that is come up to the forefront of conversation recently. Well, in the recent past, as people have become more, quote unquote, African. They want to embrace their roots, especially people from the Western, diaspora, essentially. Black people want to, go back to Africa. They want to embrace their roots. So that conversation has come about now from historians, and now people generally, the public, want to know more and stuff. So it is a good conversation to have. And you're right. It's something that needs to be taken to now to the levels of the point where, it's political, it's government involved, there's policy involved in that. And I think that's important. I think that's something that we can try and keep having the conversation, keep the conversation alive somehow.
Yeah.
Things like this, talking about it. Film the film that you made. That's something that I believe should be shown to governments. It should be shown to people in the powers that be, to be able to understand.
Yeah.
This is not just something that it's an item. This is something that is us.
Yeah.
Who we are. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People that are in the diaspora who may not maybe have been born in Africa, their parents may not be born in Africa, but they understand that, this is the civilization, humanity started in Africa.
Yeah.
I'm African enough to understand that.
Yeah.
I can also relate to that. You know what I mean? So I think it's a conversation that is definitely, but what struck me is we said that it's not something that's going to happen in a lifetime. Jeez. It's that serious, right?
Yeah, I'm a kind of half glass.
Half empty.
Half full. So it's
let's try and be half empty.
yeah.
Half full,
So
sorry, yeah.
no, but I'm very optimistic
Yeah.
if we really push enough. It's just bureaucracy and just mindset, just trying to. We have to. A lot of museum institutions are trying to decolonize the institution because from the foundation in itself, it's very colonial.
Right.
But as much as we are decolonizing the institutions, we also have to decolonize minds.
Yes.
Which is also
it's harder than anything.
Harder.
Yeah.
Trying to decolonize the minds. So some will return, but it's a process.
Yeah.
And it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another point that you also made previously was about the fact that the history is dying as the longer these things take, the people that understand the history of these things, understand the history of their culture, are not going to be around forever. When there's an African proverb about when an old man dies, it's like a library that's on fire. It's like there's so much history that goes with it that you will never understand unless it's done now, unless we figure things out now. I'm not going to give out the film what happened, but it's like that was such a crucial part of the film. Understanding that these things don't last forever because the people don't last forever, and if the people don't last forever, we'll never know what these items were. So it's like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Can we find out first?
Yeah.
Before we, it's such a crazy conversation to be having.
Yeah.
About items that are rightfully ours. I mean, it's a weird one. It's a weird one.
It is, and of course, like even from the film, with this object, we traveled around Kenya trying to understand what it was, and we got the information from 90-year-olds, 100-year-old man.
Yeah.
And you see that knowledge will slowly fade away.
It's not there forever.
So even this issue should also become a human rights issue.
Oof.
Yeah. It's a must because this is a people's culture. This is their knowledge system, and they have the right. They need the human right aspect.
Yeah.
So if you also echo it as a human right aspect, I think
they might listen. They might listen.
Yeah.
So then that goes back to the conversation we had earlier about they look at it as an alien civilization. They look at it as a ancient alien. Like we can just admire it, but we don't really want to give it back. We don't want to. I don't know. It's like they see it as the people that look at it in the museums. It's like, yeah, this is ancient. This is old school. This is not. The people still aren't here. It's like, it's like they're not. The people that were involved in this culture aren't still around. Essentially, do you know what I mean? That's how it feels like a little bit when you say that, and that's so interesting to hear because these people are here, but these people are living. These 100-year-olds still here.
Exactly.
Jeez, that's crazy.
And of course, also most of these artifacts are beautifully made. Beautifully crafted.
Yeah, I remember they spoke about that as well.
Yeah, they're beautifully crafted, and the people are still here. So it shouldn't be alien because also look at what the continent has offered the rest of the world. It's much more deeper in terms of music.
Yeah.
Right? There's a bit of artistry.
Yeah.
There's a lot, not a bit, a lot of artistry, be it music,
arts, culture,
science, a lot. So it's just about integrating, and finding how to appreciate, not just have this gaze, looking at, because when people go to museums, they always, especially lots of people, it's like going back on a time machine.
Yeah.
Something
that's not longer there.
Yeah, but you miss out the point. It's not about going back to the time machine. It's about, learning, because a lot of ideologies, actually you find most of what we're facing, the challenges and problems that we're facing currently can be solved by trying to understand how things are, or maybe reinventing it or being innovative about, you have to know the past to fix future and work with the present. And it's always about learning. So it's not just about it's going back in time and reliving it, but it's more deeper than that.
Wow. Yeah I definitely got that vibe from it because this conversation is something that I think it's deeper than even what we're talking about. It's something that is so spiritual, like you said earlier. You know, and I actually get it now. I fully get it now. I understand now. And even watching the film, it reminded me so much of so like that. You know, that feeling. It's a spiritual thing. It's not just this is our culture, bro. You know what I mean? This is us. This is who we are, bro. Like, come on, like, I'm gonna play another quick clip. So this is when you took the item to Kenya. And the reaction
The reaction.
the reaction you
always
got.
such.
You have to play that. Right?
Always the best.
All right, I gotta just play this one quickly.
What is it? I have no idea. It's that you can find such things in Germany, and we've not seen them ourselves here in Kenya. From the museum, the data, this is from the Kikuyu. Oh. One of the Chole Kikuyu? Yeah. I don't know anything about it. Like I can ask my grandparents maybe. Wow. And in 1903, were Kikuyus in Germany? How did it get there?
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a very genuine question.
It is.
It's something that I can imagine being played out in the middle of a conference with, you know, different delegations and institutions and Sijui politicians and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because it's a very sincere and honest question. How did it get here? Let's answer that first.
Yeah.
You know, how did this item that we don't know what it is, you don't know what it is, how did it get there?
Yeah.
Let's answer that first before anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It caught me because it was like it's like a child essentially.
Yeah.
Like a very innocent question.
Very innocent. And you can see it's a genuine question. How did it get there?
Yeah.
So
I loved it.
Like what Kikuyus in Germany?
No.
How? yeah. Because you see,
and you know what? We might have been. Who knows? We might have been. So we might have taken it there. But chances are, nah.
Yeah, you've had the story about the Moans and civilization. So it's genuine questions. So it's also about history. We have to rethink history. Because sometimes history might be, told in a different way.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe the facts are in there. So it's this is also part of decolonization. It's the mind, it's in the institutions, it's also the history in itself.
Right.
Because you might find out, there's so much more. And of course, they say, the lion would never tell its story.
Yeah, no, they say essentially the person that wins the war tells the story.
Yeah.
The
hunter will always tell the story.
The hunter will always tell the story.
Not the lion.
Not the lion. We're the lions, but clearly we didn't get the microphone.
Yeah. So I think we need to also tell the story. We need to tell the story. We need to not just, anything far-fetched, because also we have brilliant scholars, both in the diaspora, both in Africa, who are like doing a lot of provenance work in terms of retelling the narrative and doing academic research, doing academic work, and also involving artists.
Yeah.
Because maybe if it's presented very academically, it's a bit too boring.
Yeah.
But if it's brought in a very artistic way, it might resonate with the people, and then people can learn.
Right.
Yeah, because also if you look at history books, how it's told, there are a lot of questions, a lot of loopholes. When I was growing up, in the school curriculum in itself was also problematic, because I remember, just by remembering, I remember there was a question. Social studies. Back then, we used to call it GHC. Yeah. It's like state 5 positive impacts of colonialism.
Wow.
I'm like, hold up.
Wow.
Wait. Yeah, this in itself
is problematic.
Yes. And also, our history has not always... our history hasn't started from colonial period.
Yeah. That's a big important point.
Yeah, there's lots of knowledge systems about Africa before colonialism that needs to be taught to kids, because kids also have to understand, because also we have to get ourselves out of that mentality. It was like, oh, we were always colonized. Oh, we had nothing cool. We had very cool stuff. We had empires, you know, we had kingdoms. They had different forms of government system. It's not always about capitalism, socialism. There's so many systems that were practiced back then, and probably they worked.
Yeah.
Or probably you can borrow a few things here and there. So yeah.
Yeah. That's a very important point, because, you know, essentially we as African, you know, countries, whatever, we celebrate Independence Day 60 years. Like Kenya's celebrating 59 years this year. Like, what does that even mean? My granddad is older than 59. Like, he was not born 59 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, even here, so that question you just posed about name 5 things that were positive about colonialism, that's something that we were never taught here. Colonialism is something that is a word that you learn maybe on Twitter when you get older.
Oh no.
Oh, 100%, bro.
What?
In this curriculum, from when I don't know what's happening now, from when I was in school.
Yeah.
Black History Month, which is just gone in October. It's a whole month of celebrating Black history. But all you're told about is slavery. All you're told about is you know, Martin Luther King. All you're told about is, you know, there was riots, there was this, there was like, you know, slaves came over from Africa and went to America, and it was the Americans, not the British. Like the British history, very specifically, is never really told as it was. It's not really taught to us. It's just like, there was black people that ended up here. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, it's something that's so vague that you can understand why now people that are, because you can, I grew up in inner city London, so I grew up around white people, Asian people, black people, everyone. It was very multicultural. But you can get where someone in up north in Scunthorpe somewhere who has never seen a black person up to maybe they get to 18 or whatever. They're being taught this in school. So all they understand of black people is they were slaves. Yeah. They're below us. They're beneath us. So when they see a black person, that's their mindset straight away. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So colonialism doesn't even come into the question at all. Maybe never. They might never learn about it. They might never understand the history of this country. Yeah. You know what I mean? And if they're told it, they might be told when they're older. And now you're so much older that you're ignorant. You don't care. You're just like, oh, whatever. I don't believe that. Yeah. Whatever. You know, so it's something that's not at all in the curriculum, from what I understand anyway. And, you know, you know the empire that this country had. You know, the United Kingdom is a name that came from the empires. You know, they ruled more than half the world. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, this is something that very specifically with the British system is not told to us. It's not something that we're taught. It's not something that we're even engaged in. Yeah. You know, I remember one Black History Month, we watched the film Roots. You know Roots?
Kunta Kinte,
bro. It's a 6-hour film. We watched it over 4 weeks. An hour and a half, and that was Black History Month. That was it. That was the month done. Yeah. There was no like sit down. Bro, I remember it so specifically because all the black kids in the school, my class, we all just walked out. We'll come to the lesson, sign the register and walk out. Because it was like, we're not watching this. Are you taking the piss? Like, and it was so demeaning. Yeah. I mean, we were a bit older. We were maybe like 14, 15. So we're a bit older. But it was so demeaning that you don't even bother to even try and teach us something. You just put a film on, and that's it. That's our history.
That's
mad, isn't it?
That's crazy. That's ridiculous. I was about to cast, but yeah.
Bro, say what you gotta say, man. Say what you gotta say, bro. Yeah. Listen.
That's crazy. That's ridiculous because, and you see, that's the mentality, and like decolonize also education. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, people want to know who Mansa Musa was. Yeah. The richest
ever
guy. We need to learn about the first university in the world. Wasn't Oxford, it was Timbuktu.
Yeah.
So there's so many things about history, about the African history, and this is also why we need to encourage also a lot of black people, Africans, to be even scholars,
Yeah.
so that they're able to teach
Yeah.
or tell the stories,
Tell our own stories, isn't
tell
it?
our own stories, because the both of us as filmmakers, we can only do at a certain point, but we also need people in powerful positions like, hey, let's rethink about everything.
Yes.
So we don't, Black History Month shouldn't be just about Kunta Kinte.
Bro.
It can be also about Queen Idia and what she did.
Yeah.
There's so much more. And I know it can be too much, but of course, you can pick the good, the best,
Yeah.
and the ugly.
Yeah.
So it's just finding a nice blend, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now, speaking on that, I'll say there's a really good book that I think I've read it about 3 times now, by Akala, who's a rapper, UK rapper, hip hop rapper. Essentially, that's what we know him as. But he's also a historian. He's an author. He's a businessman. And he wrote a book called Natives. And it just breaks down essentially, the school system, the class system. It's very specific to the UK. It's a bit of an autobiography as well, because he also tells a story. He's half black, half white. He grew up in the 80s, 90s, and he saw a lot of this stuff. But he also had a very, I guess, woke family. I couldn't find the right word, but they took him to Saturday school. He learned, about his history. So when he'd go to school and these things are being taught to him, he'd be like, no, that's not true. That's not, that's not us. You know what I mean? So that book was really something that it should be implemented in the curriculum. It's so important. Like, it's not biased. It touches on both sides of it. It's like, this happened, but this also happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's very much about how were we not taught about our history, in school and all these kind of things. So yeah, you should check that out.
I should definitely. I'm gonna
Akala.
check it out.
Yeah. It's a really, really, really dope book, because colonialism is something that is ingrained in British culture. It's something that ingrained in British history. You can't run away from that. You know, which is why the British Museum and things like this are so important to the world.
Yeah.
Not just us, to the world.
Yeah.
They play a big key part in how the world perceives us and how the world perceives itself. So yeah,
exactly. And that's why I wouldn't be surprised, like a huge percent of the British people don't know about this subject.
No idea.
It's been taught to them, it's this guys were slaves and everything, that's it, let's move on.
That's it.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
So it means also there needs to be a lot of education.
100%.
But the thing is, when people talk about it, it's like, oh, it's too radical. Are you trying to start a revolution? It's not a revolution. It's a
education.
Conversation. Yeah, it's education. It's a conversation. Let's address the skeletons in the closet.
I like that.
Yeah. We can't just have that and then, put it on the carpet. Yeah, it's gonna come up.
It's gonna come out.
Yeah,
the closet will fill up. And it's been filling up.
Definitely.
It's been filling up. The doors are starting to open up, and people are looking now.
Yeah.
So it's. I mean, I guess in the age of the digital era and stuff, people are now more awake to stuff. People are more, like, you're more likely to hear about stuff. There's been the recent marches and things like that, and people are taking a stand.
Yeah.
It's a process that's going to take a long time, I believe. But the conversations and the awkward conversations, as they call them, the awkward conversations, the weird conversations are being had.
Yeah.
They have to be had now.
They have to.
You know what I mean? They're at the forefront. They've had to be had. So it's an important time we're living in right now. And I think my advice would just be to, just do your own research, and also be willing to have these conversations. Don't shy away from these conversations. They're important conversations to be had, so that's an important thing. And I don't know, what would you say to someone that's trying to get into this conversation, try to understand more? What would you say?
I would say research.
Watch the film.
Watch the film. Yes, of course, watch the film. But of course, research, talk to people, difficult conversations, no matter who you are, whether you're European, whether you're African, just talk to people, have difficult conversations. And it's not about victim blaming or victimization. It's just conversation. People get along if they could just talk to each other and try and understand and get different perspectives from each other. And when we do that, sort of will debunk whether the system was by design. Shouldn't be by design. And somehow it can feel it's by design because you're suppressing all this information, all this history and everything, but it should be that way. We need more people to be vocal, people to be out there and, just have conversations.
Have the conversation.
Yeah.
I love that.
And conversations followed by actions.
Yes.
Yeah. And actions, yes, we can do the protest, we can do the march, but that's not enough. It means you have to, if it's the Matrix, you have to go deeper,
Take the blue pill.
Yes, take the blue pill. It means you go to the source.
Yeah.
If it's about changing academic or perceptions, involve yourself in academics, find your place. If you're an artist, speak like color, speak it out, write a book, inform, and you're not being biased, you're just telling as it is.
Story.
Yeah.
Facts. I could have this conversation all day, man.
Yeah.
I'm so happy we've got to have this conversation, honestly.
Yeah.
And one thing that's made me really happy is a film like this, in partnership with German institutions, with Kenya and stuff. It's something that we need more of. It's part of the conversation. It's part of the the where we want to go. So I'm really pleased that you've done it, man.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to see what you got next, the plans you got next,
Yeah.
And before you tell us that, I'm gonna just give you a quick few questions.
Yeah.
Quick fire before we finish up.
Ready for that?
Because it's been very serious. So let me break it down a little bit.
Let's have some fun.
Let's have some fun.
Yeah.
Let's have some fun. Yeah. So documentaries or reality shows?
Definitely documentaries.
Okay. Any specific?
I watch a lot of documentaries. I loved The Act of Killing by Oppenham. Beautiful. It's like a recreation. Just go watch it out.
Yeah.
I loved Act of Killing.
Yeah.
I love a lot of Werner Herzog documentaries.
Okay.
Yeah. Not a big fan of reality because spoiler alert, most of them are scripted.
Because you're a filmmaker.
Yes.
You understand that. I get that.
Yeah.
But it's
you documentary or
docs, always documentaries.
Favorite doc?
That's a good question. I think that I'll have to go to the GOAT, Hoop Dreams. Hoop Dreams.
Okay.
Hoop Dreams. That is a documentary I've watched about 5 times now.
Yeah.
Very inspirational.
Okay.
I also love 13th.
13th.
Yeah. About 13th Amendment in America.
Ava DuVernay.
Yeah. Big fan of her as well.
Brilliant. It was also brilliantly done.
Yeah. Exactly. Night in or night out?
Night out.
Love that.
I'm also a party animal.
Oh. All right.
I can be serious during the day, but
any events you got coming up, let him know.
Please do let me know.
Netflix or YouTube?
YouTube,
yeah. You love a YouTube rabbit hole, innit?
I love it's a rabbit hole and it's more diverse.
Yeah. True. You can create your own vibe.
Yes.
Yeah. What's your favorite app to use? What's your go-to app?
My favorite go-to app. Not a big fan of Twitter. I'm like really thinking. I think I'm also a bit of old school. Is it like social media or just app?
App. Any app. Could be Uber.
Ooh,
could be anything.
I love the Star Walk app.
What's that?
It's this just to look at the stars in
nice.
augmented reality.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, dope.
So at night, maybe we'll just check it out.
Yeah.
Just to see where Jupiter is, where Mercury is. I love Star Walk app. Yeah.
Dope. Last one, ugali or mukimo?
what does it come with? To be specific.
That's a great question.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the accompaniment?
Stew, standard stew.
Stew.
Yeah. Like a nice meat stew.
Mukimo.
Okay. Ooh.
Yeah. Mukimo.
Shags kabisa. I love that.
Shags Mondos.
But you know also another thing is what kind of mukimo?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll leave it there.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
All right, cool. Would you like to plug your socials and anywhere we can follow you? Where can we get the film? So let us know.
Yes. So you can follow me on my socials: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Saitabao Kayare. And also you can follow the film's social. It's If Objects Could Speak. Facebook, Twitter.
No, I realized we didn't actually say the film's name.
Yeah, If Objects Could Speak. You can find it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So yeah, for the film, we're still working on pushing it to get it on platforms as well.
Yeah.
So working on that. So just follow our socials, follow me, and we'll always update anything to do with the film.
Nice. And hopefully we can do a screening in London too.
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
You've promised me that.
I got you, bro. I got you. We got this, man.
Looking forward to that.
We'll do that, man. And is there any songs that you've heard recently that we have a playlist that we started up, which I always forget to mention. Mm-hmm. Any songs that I should add to the playlist that you've heard recently that you like? Anything, old, new, whatever.
Old, new. I'm more of I'm like a 80-year-old. I think I reincarnated. I like old music.
That's fine, bro.
Chuck Berry. I started listening to Chuck Berry music, and it's like very funky rock and roll.
Nice.
Yeah, so I would say Chuck Berry.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I'll add that to the playlist.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in, guys, man. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I hope you learned something. I hope you can, engage with it, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you got any ideas and you got it, whatever you thought of the conversation, let us know, and we would love to carry this conversation on. Share, subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. Nothing serious as vibes. We're out. Peace.
Cheers.